K-Rugs, the sober dog, coming at you. Today's video, Adderall. All about Adderall, what you need to know, what type of drug Adderall is, how people get it, the effects, short-term effects, long-term effects, what reasons people get it and use it, everything you need to know about it. All right? Hey, hit that like, that subscribe if you like Sober Dog's content. I'd really appreciate it. Help me get more content out there. Help YouTube show more of my videos. That would be awesome. I don't ever condone drug use, but if you have something you could help or tell people about, that I missed or that's different, put it in the comments. Let me know what's going on. All right, let's get right into it. There's articles in newspapers all around the country about Adderall addiction with housewives, Adderall addiction with, upper middle class people, Adderall addiction with business people, Adderall addiction with people on Wall Street, Adderall addiction with sporting events and athletes, Adderall addiction in the NFL, Adderall addiction in the NBA, Adderall addiction in weightlifting competitions, Adderall addiction at every college around the country. So Adderall is a medication prescribed for ADD and ADHD, attention deficit disorder, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, and it's also prescribed for narcolepsy. Now, what is it? It is a combination of 4 salts of amphetamine. Adderall is a central nervous system stimulant, and it is the most prescribed amphetamine out there. Now, what it does, how it works, is it works by increasing dopamine and norepinephrine levels in the central nervous system. Norepinephrine is it affects how the brain responds to outside stimuli. If you're watching TV, if someone's talking to you, if you're driving, it affects how all that stimuli is hitting your brain, and it affects the speed at which you're kind of processing it. And dopamine is the body's natural, feel-good chemical. Dopamine can be released during sex, with drug use, certain types of chocolate, cuddling with a sexual partner, things like that, things that make you feel good. That's when dopamine's released. And Adderall creates a high level of dopamine. Some would say an unnaturally high level, which is why people get addicted and keep coming back for more. They keep needing more. So these are all the drugs that are stimulants, which have similar effects to Adderall. We got Eviquio, Ritalin, Metadate, Methylene, Adzenys, Dianavel, Focalin, Vyvanse, Concerta, Daytrana, Jornay, Quillivan, Quilichu, and Mydayis. All those are medicines that are, a stimulant for ADD or ADHD. Some of them are different chemical, structures and might not be as strong as Adderall or have as much amphetaminism as them, but they could all be anything that's in this video that I'm describing. Any of those can be similar to Adderall, the effects. There are ones that don't have the stimulant in them. So if a young kid needed them, I'm not a doctor, so again, talk to a doctor, a medical professional, but I would say a Strattera that doesn't have the amphetamine, the upper part of it, would be better for a kid. They don't need to be given amphetamine at 8 years old. What do you think that's going to do to them? They're going to be hooked on that. And that goes right into the effects of Adderall. Some of the effects of Adderall, side effects, long-term effects, effects in general. Loss of appetite, dry mouth, hypertension, Raynaud's phenomenon. This is where you have reduced blood flow to your hands and feet. I got this real bad when I took Adderall. Your hands feel like they fell asleep. They're really tingling, and your feet are freezing. Increased heart rate. Most people get this with Adderall. It's an upper. It's increasing your heart rate. For men, erectile dysfunction, prolonged erections, problems ejaculating, sexual dysfunction. Doesn't sound like fun. Abdominal pain, nausea. These are all some of the effects you can get right away. Constipation, Excessive grinding of the teeth, that's a big one I notice. Adderall is a strong stimulant. So if you've ever had too much coffee, too much Red Bull, too much of any upper, and you're kind of just, you're twitchy, you're wiry, you're anxious, and a lot of people grind their teeth or bite something, or, they got to chew on something. If you're a tobacco user, you will use probably 2 to 3 times as much as you normally use when you're on Adderall. Smoker smokes a pack a day will smoke 2 packs when they're on Adderall. Everybody I've ever been with on Adderall that used tobacco used double the amount, easily double the amount. Blurred vision, profuse sweating, tics, like involuntary movements, just like with twitchy and anxious and moving around. Difficulty urinating, that's a big one. I know that happened for me and a lot of people that took this in college that I was with. You can go to the bathroom and stand there for 10 minutes and you can't pee even though you gotta go. That's because Adderall actually constricts your, the sphincter of your bladder. I didn't know our bladders have a sphincter, but it actually constricts it, so it's harder to pee. Now, some of the psychological effects of Adderall: alertness, concentration, paranoia, psychosis, heart attack and seizure, even though those are physical, but self-confidence, like grandiosity, people get more confident, braggadocious type thing, mood swings, elevated mood, depressed mood when it runs out, big time like crash, come down, wakefulness, insomnia, lack of fatigue. People feel a lot of energy, but when they want to sleep, they can't sleep. They're kind of in that wired state. Anxiety, irritability, change in libido, repetitive or obsessive behaviors, and restlessness. That repetitive or excessive behaviors is a big one. Like people will clean excessively on Adderall. If people who are studying will like go in and do extra studying. It's the weirdest thing. People I took this with in college, somebody who did like straight D type work, when they took Adderall, not necessarily their work would be that much better or great, but they would be so focused and pay attention, and you would think that somebody completely different was doing their work. The problem is they get so stuck on 1 or 2 things that they're not really doing all the work they needed. They're so hyper focused on one thing. Like, let's say part of their assignment was write these 10 definitions. They're like, I'm going to do 25 definitions because I'm so interested in this. But then they miss the other parts because they're so obsessive with one thing. Some people that I used to do this with at college, we'd go to the library, take Adderall, and study for like 12 hours straight, the entire time using as much tobacco as we had possible. Cigarette breaks, chewing tobacco, whatever. There wasn't vapes then, so we didn't have vapes. And we'd go home afterwards, and every single person would be in their own area of the house cleaning excessively, organizing, cleaning excessively, organizing this, cleaning their room, cleaning the main area. It was, the nights we were on Adderall, our house was cleaner than it had been for the entire prior year. But again, the whole time you're kind of itchy, you're grinding, you're wired, you're going all. For people who are like it, anxious and twitchy and real nervous normally, who have real bad ADD and ADHD, Adderall actually calms them down and brings them to a normal state. Now, I firmly believe that everybody in the world has ADD and ADHD to an extent. Some people it's worse than others. But I do not believe that everyone who is diagnosed ADD and ADHD has it bad enough to need Adderall and these other medications. Everybody, especially kids, young kids who are, 10, 11, 12, 8, 9 years old, who have high energy, all of a sudden they're being put on this med like there's something wrong with them. 95% of young boys that I knew and I hung out with, and that my parents know, and that all of my friends and all of my friends' parents and all the kids in the different schools I've been to, are nuts, running around, having fun, going crazy, excessive energy sometimes. Doesn't mean we all need Adderall. That, I think, is way blown out of proportion, and I think this stuff is way too dangerous for any kid under 16 to take, period. Because I've been prescribed Adderall legally. I've had 2 different doctors give me Adderall. I've also bought and tried Adderall illegally, hundreds of times. It is basically a legal form of cocaine. It is a legal meth. Jittery, wired, and even the people that it calms down when they take more than needed, it will make them jittery and wired too.